Welcome to The Explainer. You probably remember Gregor Mendel from school, right? The guy with the pea plants. Well, what if I told you those simple rules we all memorized, they're really just the tip of the iceberg? Today, we're going to dive into the stuff beyond Mendel, the unwritten rules that show just how incredibly complex our genetic code really is.
So let's get right to it. Was the father of genetics just, lucky? And yeah, kinda. His work was absolutely revolutionary, don't get me wrong. But the traits he chose to study just so happened to follow these really neat, clean rules. It was like he found genetics on easy mode. The real world, though, it's way messier, and frankly, way more fascinating. Okay, so Mendel's big idea was that when it comes to traits, you've got a clear winner and a loser, a dominant gene and a recessive one. But what happens when it's not a total knockout? What if neither gene can land the final punch?
So, according to Mendel, if you cross a red flower with a white one, the dominant red gene should win out, and you'd get all red flowers, right? Seems simple enough. But nature, has other plans. Sometimes you end up with a pink flower. It's almost like the two parent genes met in the middle and decided to compromise.
This phenomenon has a name. It's called incomplete dominance. The easiest way to think about it is like mixing paint. The red allele just isn't powerful enough to completely cover up the white one. So instead, they blend together, and you get this beautiful intermediate phenotype, the pink flower.
Now, it's super important not to get this mixed up with another cool concept called codominance. With incomplete dominance, you get a blend, like red and white making pink. But with codominance, it's more like sharing. Both of the original traits show up fully and separately. Think about a spotted cow with black and white patches. You see the black and you see the white. They're both there just hanging out side by side.
And if you want the absolute best, most critical example of codominance, well, you just have to look at our own blood. The whole ABO blood type system is built on this principle, and understanding it can literally be a matter of life and death. Here's how it works. The A and B alleles are the big, codominant players here. If you inherit both of them, they don't blend into some new thing. No, they both show up, giving you type AB blood. And then there's the O allele. It's kind of the quiet, recessive one. It only makes an appearance if you get two copies of it, one from each parent.
So what exactly are these A's and B's we're talking about? Think of them as tiny little name tags or antigens on the outside of your red blood cells. If you have type A blood, your cells have A name tags. Type B, B name tags. If you're type AB, your cells are wearing both name tags. And type O, well, they're the sneaky ones. They don't wear any name tags at all.
And this is where it gets really, really important. Your immune system acts like a security guard for your body. It has a list of approved name tags. If a blood cell shows up with a name tag it doesn't recognize, alarm bells go off. It sees it as an invader and launches a full-scale attack. And that is why getting the wrong type of blood in a transfusion is so incredibly dangerous.
So this whole system creates two really special categories. People with type O blood, remember, have no name tags on their cells. This means their blood can sneak past any immune system security guard, which makes them the universal donors. On the flip side, people with type AB blood have immune systems that recognize both A and B name tags as friendly, so they can receive blood from anyone. They're the universal receivers.
All right, so we've established that the whole dominant recessive thing can get pretty complex. But there's another one of Mendel's big rules that nature loves to mess with. And that's the idea that all our traits get sorted out independently, like pulling different colored socks from a drawer.
Mendel figured that whether you got, say, your dad's eye color had nothing to do with whether you got his hair color. And you know what? A lot of the time, that's true. But when genes are physically sitting right next to each other on the same chromosome, they tend to travel together. It's like they're linked, almost like a package deal.
And really, it all just boils down to how close they are. The closer two genes are on that chromosome, the more likely they are to be inherited together. When our cells are shuffling genes around to make sperm or eggs, those close neighbors just tend to stick together. It's a simple matter of physical location.
Okay, let's talk about one more big exception to the classic rules. We tend to think of genes as having just two versions, or alleles, like a light switch that's either on or off. But what if it's not a switch? What if it's more like a dial with a whole bunch of settings?
Now, to be clear, any single individual, you, me, we can only carry two alleles for any given gene. We get one from mom, one from dad. That part is simple.
But if you zoom out and look at the entire population, the whole gene pool, you can find many, many more versions of that same gene floating around. This is what we call multiple alleles.
Rabbit fur color is the perfect example. In the rabbit world, there isn't just a brown and white allele. There are at least 4 common alleles for fur color, and depending on which 2 a rabbit inherits, you can get all sorts of combinations, creating a whole spectrum of colors from dark gray to chinchilla to Himalayan and even albino.
So let's take a step back. We've talked about incomplete dominance, codominance, linked genes, multiple alleles. So what's the big picture here? What's the takeaway?
Well, the most important thing to remember is that none of this proves Mendel was wrong. Not at all. It just shows that his work was the foundation. These concepts are the next chapters in the book. They reveal that genetics isn't just a simple set of instructions. It's an incredibly rich and complex language, and we're honestly still just scratching the surface of understanding it.
And it really makes you think, doesn't it? We figured out so much about the code that makes us who we are. But what other fundamental rules are still out there, waiting to be discovered? What other secrets are hiding in our DNA, just waiting for us to find them?